So before moving on to weak acids, I just wanted to say one last thing about like why we don't talk about the amounts of hydronium ion that are already naturally present in the water when we're doing a calculation of the pH whenever we add a strong acid. All right. So again, even if you don't add any acid to the water, there's going to be some of this naturally there. All right. And if you calculate the amount that would be naturally there in pure water, the amount of H3O plus would work out to be this number. This is 10 to the minus 7th molar. All right. But as you see in the the example above, the amount of H3O plus that would be generated if you added a strong acid would be about, or for this particular problem, it would be 0.0229 molar. All right. So notice the difference. All right. This is, even though this number might look small, this number right here is huge compared to the amount that would be naturally there from the water. So if you wanted to talk about the total amount of H3O plus, one way you might go about this is just to add the amount that comes from adding the acid to the amount that's naturally there. And if you do that, you would notice that it's essentially going to be the same number as this right here, because of where this is in terms of the overall number. So because it's so, this amount ends up being so small, you can essentially ignore the contribution of that when you're doing calculations from strong acids. Okay, so moving on to weak acids. Okay, so we said that a strong acid is an acid that completely dissociates when you add it to water. A weak acid is an acid that only partially dissociates. The thing about this is there are different levels that things can partially dissociate. So if you think about partial, that just means some. All right, and some can be anywhere from, say, like 1% to 99%. All right, so when we're talking about weak acids, there are such things as stronger weak acids and weaker weak acids, and we need to have some way that we can describe how strong or how much dissociation would occur. All right. So, for example, if we just use the standard generic equation right here, if you get a relatively high amount of this dissociation to occur, you would end up generating relatively more of this right here. But if you have relatively low amount of this dissociation happening, you're going to have mostly this stuff over here in the water and very little of this right here. So the way that we describe the amount that dissociation occurs is given by this term here, the Ka, or what is called the acid dissociation constant. Okay, so by the way, dissociation is just a word for things breaking apart into their ions. All right, you might remember this term was used when talking about ionic compounds. Whenever sodium chloride gets dissolved in water, we would say that it dissociates into its ions, which means that the positive ion breaks apart from the negative ion. All right, we don't use the term dissociation when we talk about the way covalent compounds dissolve, because the atoms don't break apart from each other. So the Ka, all right, so the Ka is just a special form of an equilibrium constant. And if you remember reaction equilibria, we had this constant called the KEQ, or the equilibrium constant. And the way you did that was you took the things that were on the right-hand side and you did it like this. If there was any exponents, if there are any coefficients in the balanced reaction, that would be reflected in coefficients in this. It would be reflected as exponents in the expression. And the things on the left would be in the denominator. All right. So the thing about this is that if you're doing this, water would serve two roles here. First of all, water is a reactant. If you add a little bit of an acid to water, it's some of that water there is going to react with that acid to create the H3O plus. But you also need to remember that water is the solvent that you're adding it to. So when you're doing this, the amount of water that is present in that reaction vessel is enormous compared to the amounts of everything else here. All right. So even before or after you add this acid to it, the amount of water that's there is going to be pretty much the same before or after. So therefore, when we're talking about the acid dissociation constant, we basically it's the same thing as a KEQ, except for we just don't talk about the water, all right, because that part of it right here would basically be the same, all right. So the way to interpret the Ka, so again, it's going to have the things on the right, the products of the dissociation in the numerator, and the acid form, the undissociated form, in the denominator. Well, if you have lots of dissociation, all right, which would mean a relatively stronger weak acid, all right, one that creates where a fair amount of it would dissociate and make this, well, that means you're going to have a fairly large amount of this dissolved in solution. So that's going to mean a relatively higher numerator and a relatively lower denominator. All right, and that's going to lead to a larger Ka. All right, so we could, if something's got a weak, so if a weak acid has a relatively large Ka, we could describe that as a stronger weak acid. All right, I know that sounds like a contradiction in terms, but we're going to contrast that with a weaker weak acid. All right, so if there's very little dissociation that happens, so if you add this acid to water and it just says, you know what, I'm pretty happy just kind of staying connected, maybe I might a very small percentage of my molecules will break apart and give their hydrogen to water, making this. Well, you're going to have very little of the stuff on the right and relatively more of the stuff on the left. All right, so if you have a small denominator and a small numerator and a large denominator, that's going to overall lead to a smaller Ka. All right, so what you can tell from the Ka is that if it's high, that means it's a relatively stronger acid, and if it's low, it's going to be a relatively weaker acid. All right, so some examples of this. A relatively stronger weak acid would be something like acetic acid. All right, this is the Ka. So if we did this, so if you did this for acetic acid, the A- would be everything there except for the H. All right, and it would have a negative charge. All right, and on the bottom it would be exactly this right here. Okay, but let's compare that to this compound phenol. All right, and you can see here the Ka. If you compare these two numbers, all right, this is blah 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 times 10 to the minus fifth. This is times 10 to the minus 10th. So this is much larger than this right here, and what that indicates is that this would be a much stronger weak acid than this right here. All right, so just like when talking about pH, when we had numbers that were in scientific notation, and we had numbers that had a very large range in there between high and low, we often went back and used what was called a logarithmic scale. That's what pH was. It was the negative logarithm of the hydronium ion concentration. We can do the same thing with Ka. All right. So because these numbers can be fairly hard to deal with, a lot of times we talk about pKa, which is going to be the negative log of the Ka. So if we took the acetic acid, this is its Ka. So if we took the negative log of that, this would be its pKa. All right. So before you'd notice that, okay, the larger the Ka, the stronger the acid. Well, notice that a larger Ka gives a smaller pKa. All right. So if you're talking about pKa's, if an acid has a small pKa, that means it's a stronger weak acid. All right. So just like with strong acids, where we are able to give a certain amount of a strong acid dissolved in water and calculate the pH of that solution, we can do the same type of thing with a weak acid. It's a little bit steppier, and as you'll see, it involves using an assumption that makes the math a little bit easier. All right. So the problem that we're going to do, calculate the pH of a solution if you added 0.1 mole of acetic acid to water to make a total of 1 liter of solution. All right, and gives you the Ka of acetic acid right here. It's 1.8 times 10 to the minus fifth. Okay, so again, we can't use the method that we used before, because if you add this to water, most of this, not all of this, will dissociate. All right, so we can't do this from a stoichiometry perspective. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to write down the dissociation equation. All right, just using that generic form here. Well, if we did it for acetic acid, this would be the acid form. All right, and after it donates at H+, this is going to be its conjugate base, what we call A minus, and it's going to generate 1 molecule of H3O+. All right, notice here that the coefficients are 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. All right, and that's going to make, we're going to need to know that in just a second. All right, so we can take the Ka and we can write a generic equation. All right, so remember it's H3O+, this would be A minus, and it's HA. So if we just substitute in the real chemicals here, it would be this. All right, and we know that that's going to equal 1.8 times 10 to the minus fifth. All right, so we also know that the pH is going to be the negative log of the H3O+. So if we can calculate what this is right here, then we can calculate the pH. All right, so how are we going to do that? We're going to use, and this is going to be something we do in a couple of different topics in this class, but we're going to use this chart where we start with a starting condition, which is before the reaction occurs. We're going to talk about how much something changes by, and then come up with an expression for what it would be in the end. All right, so let's say that there's a moment in time before we even add the acetic acid. All right, we know that this is the number of moles of the acetic acid. All right, so we know we can put that as the starting amount of HA, and this is the amount of A minus and H3O+. Again, this is before it's been added to water. All right, well, we know that since the coefficients are 1 to 1 to 1 to 1, all right, let's say that we don't know how much of it breaks apart. We can represent that amount, the amount that it breaks apart, by an X. All right, and since they're 1 to 1 coefficients, every time one of HA breaks apart, you're going to generate 1 A minus and 1 H3O+. So if this goes down by X, these would go up by X. All right, so so we could come up with an expression for what the final concentrations would be. Right, well, if it started with this and it goes down by X, we could represent the finished product as 0.1 minus X. And if it was 0 and these were 0 and increased by X, the final would be X. All right, so if we take these expressions here and we plug those back into this Ka expression, all right, well, both of these guys were in the numerator. Those were X's. Your HA is this. We're going to put that in the denominator, and we know what the Ka is. All right, well, if you do this, this is going to end up being an X squared in the top, and you've got something with an X down here. And if you wanted to do this technically, it would require using the quadratic equation, because you'd end up getting one of these, an equation in this type of format. All right, but we're going to use a little assumption that's going to make this a little bit easier. I'm going to go and get rid of this. All right, and that is to notice that for any time you have a small Ka, all right, and by small I'm going to say anything less than 10 to the minus fourth. All right, you're going to be able to make an assumption, and that is, if your Ka is very small, what that means is that your numerator is very small and your denominator is very large. Okay, and if your numerator is small compared to your denominator, all right, then essentially this X, if we subtracted that X, it is going to be very, very close to what that number is. All right, because we know that X is very small compared to the original denominator. So what we can assume is that this expression right here is is approximately the same thing as X squared over this denominator, but without that minus X. All right, and this thing right here we can solve for. All right, once we know what X is, that's going to be the same as our H3O+, and then we just calculate the pH from that. All right, and we're going to practice that.